Hello and welcome to Never a Truer Word on YouTube. Particularly hello to new subscribers and new viewers. It's great to have you here taking part in this. This is the first of 3 videos where I'm going to look at the words of Chris Antos, husband of Shana DiMambro. A quick timeline for you here. On the 19th of July this year, Chris reported that Shana is missing. On the 26th of July, Chris gives a TV interview, and this is the interview that we're going to look at to analyse the words that Chris gave on that TV interview. There's a link to watch that interview in full in the description if you want to see him speak. On July the 29th, Shana's body is found not far from where she lived with Chris. And on August the 5th, the police say there is no evidence of a criminal offence. If you go to the website neveratruerword.com, you can see some of the principles and techniques that we're going to use to analyse the words. But the 2 big ones to bear in mind are people don't like to lie. They'll go to great lengths generally to avoid lying, even if that means talking a very limited version of the truth or saying nothing of the truth. You still haven't lied if you've said nothing. And also, the words we choose are the ones that we best feel fit the situation, or they're the ones that we want to get out there. They're the ones that we want people to hear. So let's have a look at the first part of the interview. The interviewer says, "So walk me through what happened last Tuesday." And Chris Antos replies, "So when I left, I noticed, I noticed some sadness the night before with Shana, and then Tuesday morning, the kind of same thing. But we kind of got up, pretty much a normal morning. We woke up, we started moving around. She asked me what time it was. I told her 6:20. She got up, she made coffee. She asked me if I wanted iced coffee, and I said no, just regular coffee will be fine." So where do we start? Well, the interviewer asks, so walk me through what happened last Tuesday. It's a great question. It's really open-ended, and this is going to give us a lot of information about what Chris thinks happened, and crucially as well, when he thinks it's happened. But this answer astonishes me, because instead of saying his wife went missing that day, it was the day he noticed his wife was missing, and instead of talking about that, he talks about what happened the night before and first thing in the morning. Imagine you told me you'd seen a car crash, and I said, "What happened?" And you'd say, well, one car pulled out in front of the other, they connected, and man, it made a right mess on the road. Or you'd tell me what happened at the car crash. You wouldn't say, I saw a car crash today. And I'd say, what happened? And you say, well, I got up about 6 o'clock and I had a coffee, had a shower, got dressed, left for work. And as I was driving down the road, 2 cars hit each other. You would go to what happened, the most important thing that happened. And Chris Antos doesn't do this, so I don't like this. Chris begins with an answer about last Tuesday. He's asked about last Tuesday, and he says, so when I left, I noticed, we had, and then he jumps to the Monday night and says there was some sadness the night before with Shana. Now, that's really interesting because that's indicating that in Chris's view, what happened appears to have started on the Monday night before Shana was reported missing. Why is this? What happened that night that he wants to jump back to it? Because all he says is, I noticed some sadness the night before. So he's jumped backwards in time there. So Chris he's telling a story. I really would expect him to answer what happened by talking about the most significant thing that happened that day, which is coming home and finding his wife is missing. But no, he gives us his rundown of his pre-work routine. The first thing he mentions is the sadness in her eyes, or the sadness the night before. So that's really important for him to mention. It's the first thing he mentions. So in his words, whatever happened on Tuesday, explicitly in his words, started with the sadness the previous evening. He's asked what happens, and he says it revolves around sadness the previous evening. He then goes on to talk about the Tuesday morning. Again, this is still not what happened to me. This is what he did on Tuesday morning. And he says it was pretty much a normal morning. I've got 2 observations on this. Firstly, people who are being deceptive and trying to hide something where an exceptional event took place, they will often say how normal things were. Why is that? Why is he telling us how normal things are? We don't tend to notice normality. We notice exceptions, but he is going to tell us how normal it was. Only he doesn't say it was normal. He says it was pretty much a normal morning, which means there was something not normal about it. And then why do we need the rest of the stuff? What happened? Why do we need to know what time you woke up? What that she asked you what time it was, that you told her the time, that she made coffee. And you look again, he's jumping back in time again because she got up and she made the coffee. And then she asked me if I wanted iced coffee. So there's too much in this that is completely irrelevant. And then look at how many times they got up. It's at least twice. We kind of got up, pretty much a normal morning. We woke up, we started moving around, and then she got up and she made the coffee. This doesn't feel like truthfully recollected events to me. This sounds like something constructed that he hasn't quite got ready in his head, because look how many times they got up and look how much movement he's discussing here. All the movement of waking up, of moving around, of getting up. She asked me what time it was, the interaction. She made coffee. We interacted about what kind of coffee it was. She asked me if I wanted iced coffee. I said, no, regular coffee will be fine. Why is it important for him to show how much movement and interaction there was at that time in the morning? Well, potentially it's because it didn't happen, but he wants us to think that this happened. Next, Chris Antos goes on to say, and then I was just walking out the door to go to work. And I just asked her if she would do laundry that morning. And I walked out the door and noticed, a look of sadness in her eyes, and then I went to work. Now, this section features the first mention of laundry. He will mention laundry a good few more times. I don't know why, but laundry is very important, very high in his priority list for him to talk about. Don't know why. I really don't know if he talks about that all the time or if it's in this specific story that he mentions laundry a lot. And boy, does he mention it a lot. Wait till you see. And I'm interested in the description. I walked out the door and noticed a look of sadness in her eyes. Well, first, he's already said there was sadness there. He said there was sadness the night before. He said there was sadness first thing in the morning when they woke up. So you wouldn't notice a look of sadness in your eyes. You would see the sadness in her eyes was still there, or that the sadness hadn't gone. You wouldn't notice it as you walked out the door if you'd seen it several times before. And why does he say noticed it? Just have a look at this. He says in the previous time, I noticed some sadness the night before. I noticed some sadness the night before. And he says here, I walked out the door and noticed, a look of sadness in her eyes. Why not say much more strongly, much more directly that there was sadness in her eyes? Why? Well, this is about him noticing it, not about her having that sadness. And he doesn't mention anything he did around this sadness. He doesn't say they had a conversation. He gave her some encouraging words. This is his wife that's got sadness and nothing. There's nothing from him to say that he acknowledged this sadness or did anything about it, or even that she wouldn't talk about it. She refused to talk about it. There is nothing in Chris Antos's words apart from the fact that he noticed this look of sadness in her eyes. If you think back to the recent Amber Heard Johnny Depp court case, one of the reasons Amber Heard came across to many people as inauthentic when she was giving her testimony was that she kept telling us what she remembered. I remember Johnny saying something. I remember sitting in this seat. I remember looking at the carpet. Instead of saying, Johnny said this to me. I was sitting in this seat. The carpet was like this. She kept talking about what she remembered. It's not direct. It's not about what someone else was doing. It's about what you were doing. And it comes across as inauthentic because sometimes it is. The interviewer then asks, okay, so she'll typically stay here. And Antos says, yeah, she stays here. She likes it. Well, you weren't asked that, Chris. You were asked if she stays here. So why are you telling us she likes it? She goes back and forth from the laundromat to here. And that's usually about, the most she gets out during the day, whether, The interviewer says, how far is the laundromat? Antos, 100 yards. Another mention for the laundry, more mentions for the laundry. He's quick to tell us that she did the laundry, even though he wasn't asked about that. And he also is quick to tell us that she liked staying at home, even though she wasn't asked about that. I think she didn't like staying at home because Chris was asked, she'll typically stay here. And yes, she stays here. That's your answer. That's all you need. But, she likes it. I don't think she liked it at all. Listen, if you're getting something from this video, Please press the like button. It helps other people find the content. It helps get the message across to other people. And there's another couple of videos on Chris Antos to come, so click subscribe as well so you don't miss them. Next, from Chris Antos, the interviewer says, and then when did you realise that she wasn't here? And Antos says, I came back. I had a job down the road that had an install crew working on installing an air conditioner. And then I had another sales call at 12 or at 2 o'clock in New Braunfels. So I had some time in between. So I came by here just to check on her and just because I had time to kill. Now, he's not answering the question here. He is asked, when did you realise she wasn't here? And he goes on to give us his schedule for the day and his job description as well. He doesn't directly answer this question. He's going for more storytelling to let us know why he discovered her missing at the time he did, but he doesn't actually answer the time. And it's all explaining, that I had a call at 12 or at 2, so I had time in between, so I came by here just to check on her and just because I had time. And look at the last 5 words there. I had time to kill. This isn't a direct indication that he is guilty of something bad. What it is, it's just something I really wouldn't expect to hear. He gave this interview when his wife was missing, before she was found dead. I would not expect I had time to kill to come into his language, but it did. The interviewer then says, and then when you arrived home, Antos says she was not there. The interviewer asks, and what did you do next? And Antos says, I looked around, obviously, and then I said, well, she's not in here. And logically, this just doesn't follow. Look, he's already concluded. He's asked, and then when you arrived home, she was not here. And the interviewer says, what did you do next? So after you concluded she was not here, what did you do next? And he said, I looked around, obviously. And then I said, well, she's not here. Well, you'd already concluded that, Chris. So again, these are descriptions of events from Chris Antos. I'm sorry, I just don't believe you are telling us a story. And you are trying to convince us of something. Your recall of events is not convincing there. So what have we got so far? Well, Chris is telling us a story. He doesn't answer the questions he's asked very often. Instead, he goes on to talk to us about what it is that he'd like us to hear. So let's look at that because that's important. This is what is important to him. And I think what is important to him is the movement and the interaction on Tuesday morning. That seems very important to him to get across because he brought that in very quickly. The sadness that was in Shana or that he noticed in Shana. And by the way, he only calls her Shana once in the whole piece that we've just looked at. He refers to her as her or she the rest of the time. And what's important to him as well, what he was doing, working, noticing, concluding. It's very much around him and not her. And the truth will leak out from people as well. So what is leaking from him? Well, when he was asked what happened, he went straight to Monday night. So something happened on the Monday night. The other thing that's leaking out from him that's really important to him is laundry. Why? I don't know. Next video, we're going to look at Chris and his very strange search for Shana. Hit subscribe because part 2 is coming soon and then you'll be sure to know when that comes. If you look at neveratruerword.com, you can find a lot more on things like true crime and people in the news. And if you go to that Linktree address, which is on your screen, but also in the description below, you can find me on all the socials and I'll see you in a few days for part 2 of Chris Antos.